Hello, welcome, Michael. Glad to have you on board today. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Nagui. Great to see you.
And look, it's good morning somewhere, good afternoon somewhere else, good evening where you are. So, um, really enjoy our conversations. You and I met not that long ago, and it's just the synergy was amazing, and I really appreciated the fact that we tend to think alike. We focus on some of the same things. Behavior is key, and so on. So, um, Michael, I'm not going to try and do the introduction on your behalf. You'll do a better job than I can. So, tell us
Sure.
a little bit about your background and how you got to be where you are today, and let's get into it.
I will give you a quick rundown. Well, first of all, I started out in life as a musician. I was a trumpet player who became a symphony orchestra conductor,
Wow.
and which took me to Europe, and where I've been now for over half my life. So for over 30 years now.
Hmm.
And I transitioned to being an executive coach when I invented some software for Microsoft Outlook. I know those two things don't really connect in most people's minds, but what happened was I created this software and I was training executives, and I realized I really enjoyed the interaction and using the psychology that I had studied and all the productivity that I had learned. I found out that I could be an asset, and so I studied being a coach. I studied being an executive coach. And 18 years later, here I am in Barcelona. At that time,
Mm.
when I started my company, I was in Denmark. And so that's my journey.
Yeah, wonderful. Mm.
My journey is my passion.
Yeah, yeah. Congratulations. I know there's a lot more that you can share, and we'll dive into some of your experience. But you're working with executives from all kinds of areas, right? Do you want to talk a little bit about the types of companies that you tend to work with a little bit?
Sure. When we talk about companies, uh, I'm mainly thinking about the individuals rather than the companies themselves. But I work with anything from startups to scale-ups to medium and also Fortune 500 and PE-backed companies. So it's
Hmm.
really the gamut. It's depending on what's referred to me. Most of the people I work with are referrals.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's excellent. So you and I have talked about many different things, and we don't have enough time today to revisit all of those things. But let's start at the beginning and just talk first about the misconceptions about coaching. You probably see a lot of that. What are your thoughts on that? And especially, I guess, in the countries that you work with. Hmm.
Sure. I don't know that it is per country. I don't know if it's geographic, but I will say that people confuse coaching with so many different things. They'll confuse it with therapy or mentoring or consulting, training, um, even business coaching. And I want to make sure that there's an understanding here that when we talk about coaching or executive coaching, we're talking not about giving advice to people, but actually asking facilitative questions that are sparking epiphanies or aha moments. That's basically
Mhm.
what we're trying to do. Some of them, are not going to be, oh my goodness, I'm going to change my life, but many of the many of the conversations that I have with my clients lead them down a path of discovery, and
Mhm.
that's really what we're trying to do in the coaching sessions. And some will always have agendas, but sometimes there's something in the agenda that sparks something else. Have a conversation about that, and that will lead us to a new discovery. So it's there's a lot of freestyle in this within a framework. I don't want you to think that just have pleasant conversations because it's not like that. We often will have a discussion about a certain point, and sometimes that'll be over the course of several meetings together, following up on things. But
Mm.
if you're paying between 1 and 5,000 a month, you're going to expect exponential growth from your coach. Right? This is not incremental, as I said, nice conversations. And a book can give you a gradual growth, but a coach should really expand your vision every session. Otherwise, it is just a nice conversation.
Mm.
So, and I mentioned business coaching before, and I want to point out that yes, business coaching is definitely coaching. So is career development coaching. These are all types of coaching, but that's a
Mm.
little bit different from this type of facilitative question answering coaching, where it is not directed towards a domain. Having said that, of course, I talk about certain domains. I help with productivity. I will do business coaching. I will do marketing coaching, depending upon the client and the size of the company and so on. So I think what you're hearing here is that even though coaching has established lines to it, as long as you know what those lines are, you're able to communicate that with the customer so that, for instance, I had a customer this morning in my office, and I stopped and I said, listen, I'm going to mentor you right now. Is that okay with you? And I'm always asking permission. Because besides the fact that he's also a good friend of mine, it was important for me to kind of jump over that rope and say, we have to talk about this.
Yeah.
But I made sure that he understood that I was at that point mentoring him, and it was not the part of the coaching that I will normally do. And that's
Mm.
really important for the coach to draw those lines for the client, so that they also get to really understand what is coaching and what are the other things. I also
Yeah.
train people in lean mail, for instance.
Mm.
I do all kinds of different things, wear all kinds of different hats. I just want to make sure everybody knows what hat I'm wearing when I'm working with
Yeah. Well said. And I'm sure a lot of the clients that hire you, do you find that they also look at your background, your expertise? So they're really, they're not just hiring any coach. They're picking who they want to work with based on experience. Is that fair to say?
them. It depends. So I would say actually the majority of my clients come to me because somebody else has said, go work with Michael.
Right.
So it has less to do with my domain expertise and background. And perhaps that's why I've developed, after 18 years, you've worked with a lot of different businesses,
Yeah.
and you develop, you learn. I learn so much more from my clients than they learn from me. So I'm constantly like a sponge taking everything in, and that in turn helps my other clients so that I can return that knowledge. Um, and then there are other clients who, come with a particular issue. And by the way, that could be that they lost their job, and now it's time to spend between 6 and 8 months with me on that project. And they know going into this, if I'm dealing with an executive, for instance, it's not a 6-week stint, and they know that. If they don't know that, then I'm going to help them understand, because a lot of executives have not been without a job for 10 years, 15 years. And so that there's this idea that they're going to go to LinkedIn and find a job, or some sort of internet thing.
Yeah.
And probably it's going to be through an executive search consultant, which I'm not, or a networking contact. Right? Probably not going to be just
Yeah.
aside there.
Yeah, and those referrals, they're also, I guess, all of the experiences that you've had with all the different types of businesses help with that referral. Now, I know you talked to me a little bit, and I haven't really gotten full insights into it, but I'd like you to maybe touch a bit more about your framework. You've got a really nice framework that you use, and it's always impresses me what successful coaches are doing. Every successful coach has gotten to that point, like yourself, where you have a framework, a methodology that you use. And I always love to hear about those. So let's share some of that, if you don't mind, with the group here.
Sure. So, I will admit to you that my early years, when I was a beginner, a greenhorn, a novice, I wasn't really using a framework. I was just following our conversation, and I think I was helping people, but not to the extent that I could when I realized, hey, I need to have a better way to keep track of things and to make sure that we're moving, we're accelerating in the directions that we need to, and not as much of a fix and go on and fix and move on. So my I have several different frameworks, and I think that's also important. Not everybody's the same. Not everybody needs the same thing. One basic framework I use, which is condoned by the ICF, the International Federation, ICF, the International, what is it, the
Coaching Federation.
Federation. Thank you. So they use the GROW model, or a lot of people are using the GROW model, and
Yep.
I use that as well, which is goal, reality, options, and will. I will do something. But I attach to that because to some degree, that model is a little bit too conforming and too, it's too much of a box for me. I think it's very powerful, and I think you can use it in many ways. I think you can use it on lots of different problems. But I like to extend that with other frameworks as well. For instance, when it comes to goal, I use a proprietary framework called Three Horizons, which is basically balancing, I'm sorry, it's for getting at the three different horizons that we operate at. And you can see that as the first horizon of the day-to-day, the work you're doing day-to-day. You have the leadership horizon, and then you have the long-term or aspirational focus. And as an individual, not just as a leader, but as an individual, you need to be paying attention to all these things and how there is the red thread between all three, so that you're making sure that whatever you're doing on the day-to-day has some connection with your values, right? With your long-term plans. And so one of the challenges that leaders have, because leaders are very busy, that's just the way it works. Sometimes it's hard to remember that you have to go and check up, hey, am I going in the right direction? Because I'm out here really working hard. Sometimes you have to lift your head up and let's take a look at leadership. Let's take a look at the goals that you have for the next 5 years, for instance. That could be personal, that could be family things, and often we touch upon family things because it's part of life as a leader as well. So I see that as attached to the goal part, and then when it comes to reality, and when we talk about reality, we're talking about what's happening right now, what's going on, so that I can make my decisions based on that rather than what I think is going on, right? What I hope is going on. And so I use a tool that was developed by my brother called Project Alignment. And Project Alignment enables you to take a snapshot of you or your team, and with just 6 questions in about 20 minutes, you can get at what the aspiration of the team is, if they are motivated, if they see where you're going, where the direction of where you're trying to get to, if that's clear for them. And then with their approach, the second layer down, that is, are the plans correct for getting there? Do you have the resources? Is the timing right? And then one step further down is action. And action is about the right decision making and are we working together as a team correctly? Now, I can apply this to an individual as well as a team, but it's a
Right.
very quick way to get to, hey, what is the reality of the situation right now?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So they have the goal, and if I can just go back to that, it's not just about doing the old SMART goals, right? You've taken it to a longer term journey to provide clarity on the moment, the here and
Absolutely.
now.
And smart goals do come into play a little bit later on with the will, right? With we said goal, reality, options, and will. And
Mm.
in will, that's where I will do something. That's commitment. And
I
so
see.
then we're talking about smart goals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time bound.
Okay.
And so, but before that, we had options. And I think
Options, yes.
that's one of the tools that I've recently developed are the four core drivers of behavior, and a total rip off from Stephen Covey. Okay, but I have found, I mean, Stephen Covey, I will say, is responsible for so much of what I do today because he was a genius, and
Mhm.
obvious it's unfortunate that he passed away, but I
Yeah.
hope that we will hold on to all the literature that he wrote, that he distilled from all of the sages, all of the masters before him into just incredible knowledge. And getting back to the four drivers of behavior, um, uh, and Stephen Covey is the one who coined all these, but self-awareness, imagination, conscience, not conscious, but conscience, and independent will. Um, we all have abilities in these areas, and they are so important to bring to the next level and the next level when you are a leader. Um, I'll just give you a quick example of self-awareness. So if you're not aware of the situation, there's a chance that you might be overreacting. You may not see yourself as other people see you. You may not be able to step in the shoes of someone else.
Yeah.
So, that's just one level. And if you are not clear on these four drivers of behavior, you don't know your options.
Mm.
So that's
Mm.
where we're working that angle. And then finally, the
Mhm.
will. And we talked about those SMART goals. So
Right.
reality, options, will. I work with those. I can work with those in just that in a session, but I try to tie all of these
Mhm.
different things in when needed, depending
Mhm.
upon the situation. And
Okay.
that's why it's very important that a coach has all these skills and has all these tools. It takes
Mhm.
time to develop those things.
Now, I think you may have already answered my next question, and that is, is it a long journey to get through all of those, or do you pull them in at different times? What's the philosophy behind that? Hmm.
So does it take a long time? It's part of the web. It's I don't think that I know that my clients are usually not conscious of what I'm doing, but they
Mhm.
don't need to be. It should be a conversation. They don't need to know where I'm going all the time. What's
Mhm.
important for them is they're getting breakthroughs. Right? It's just like I open the hood of my car these days, and there's a big plastic plate over the motor. I mean, in the old days, you could fiddle around, right? But
Mhm.
today, um, you can't see what's going on under the hood, and
Mhm.
that's kind of the way it is. I think when you're visiting a coach. I mean, if a coach would ask me, I would explain the technique and the technical areas of this. But just like you go to a symphony orchestra concert, nobody knows what a conductor does, and yet everyone has an opinion. Oh, that's a good conductor, right? Only
Yeah.
the orchestra can tell you if it's a good conductor.
Mhm. Yeah.
So is it fast?
Yeah.
It can be, like I said, with one of the tools with the project alignment. You can, the first time you do it, you have to do a lot of explaining. but after that, it goes really fast. We can
Right.
do a session together in 10 minutes, and you're going to find out some things that you need to be focusing on. Absolutely.
So if I can relate to that a little bit, because we use AccuMatch a lot, and when a coach is working with a client, they'll often go, "Oh, this is what's happening," and they'll look at the map and draw from that. In your grow model, and even in the orchestra example, you can hear the trumpet or the drum, or you're right. So in the grow model that you're using, do you find that when you're in a session, sometimes you go, this is what's happening here?
Absolutely. And you're a coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, you hear somebody say something or not say something. It could be that too. It could be that it could be some blaming. It could be so many different things, but it's outside of their authentic self. As you get to know a client, so much because as a coach, you're analyzing all the time. So it's a very different experience. If I meet somebody at a restaurant, it's a very different experience than meeting somebody online because I'm totally focused. And now with AI, with recording and everything, I can be 100% focused. There's no note taking anymore. It's very rare I need to take a note. So I am just, looking at every angle, just like when I was a symphony orchestra conductor. You are listening to everything all the time, and you're feeling, the violins are a little bit slow here against the cello, and you have to adjust that, and all these things, and you're doing that just with your hands, right? So it's very much the same thing in coach. You're listening, and then you'll ask a question that will help them gain the understanding of what's going on without you telling them what the problem is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Very
I
well.
point out about the AccuMatch. Now, you and I have been talking about that, and I just had a meeting with one of your teammates, and I'm very excited about adding that also to my repertoire because I think it'll be an excellent addition to the other the frameworks that I'm using. I'm always, as I mentioned to you when we first met, I'm always looking for something that can increase the value of my coaching to clients.
Yeah, and it's about, we're aligned because it's about the clarity that someone gets. It's not about a judgment. It's about, we call it the guided interpretation. We guide them to interpret themselves, right? It's cool.
I love the word clarity. It's all about that, isn't it? Clarity of purpose.
Yeah.
Right? That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to help people understand what it is that they really want to do, and sometimes we don't know what that is.
Yeah. And you and I are human. We go through the same things, right?
Absolutely.
I think I'm human.
When I argue with my wife, I do. When I do, she says, "Well, you're a coach. You should be able to fix all of this."
Yeah.
No, that's not.
No. Yeah. My favorite quote. I use it a lot. When you're in it, you can't see it, and we're human. When we're in it, we're not coaching, right? It's
At the same time, I will say this: that when I am in it, I do come into myself and I say, "What am I teaching right now?
okay.
What am I showing? What do I want to give at this moment?"
Yeah.
Everybody has kids, and kids, can really push your buttons. And that's a really great one because you love your children. You never want to be mean to them or yell at them or anything like that. So one of the things that I think is very helpful, what helped me as a stepfather, was what am I teaching right now? And that brings me in and say, okay, pay attention.
That's really powerful, and I just want to pause on that for 2 seconds because that stopping yourself and going through what am I thinking, what am I feeling, all of those kinds of things, that takes a lot of practice, right? And you can't just give someone a magic pill and they suddenly know how to do that, right?
Yeah,
So,
well, it brings us to Frankel, right? Between stimulus and response, boom, there's a space.
mm,
In that space is our power to make, to choose, and in that choice is our liberty and our freedom. I think I got a couple of those words wrong, but that's
yeah,
that's the idea of that. So when we're exacerbated or when we feel frustrated, we can decide to react from our amygdalas, or we can allow it go to our frontal cortex
yeah,
and say, whoa, 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 just think of what you're about to do right now. And this is milliseconds, right? It's not like
Wait,
sitting there and thinking, okay, how am I going to react to this person who almost hit me on my bike as they drove past? No, it's not like that. But we do have the power because we are humans, because we're not, a dog can't do that. A dog can't stop and think, but we can. It
yeah.
is training, right?
That's part of humanity that makes us different on this planet, right? Mm. And I use the phrase also allow yourself to be human, but also remember to allow other people
Even
to
better.
be.
I think, I'll make an analogy about allow ourselves to be human. So for me, that is immediate forgiveness, not acceptance of bad behavior. I see those as two different things.
Yes.
So immediate forgiveness for me, I remember when I was a trumpet player, and I had to play I think it was the second movement of the Chopin Piano Concerto, and I was a young kid, and it was a very difficult part. I had to enter on a very high note, and very quietly, and I couldn't play anything for 10 minutes beforehand because you just wait for 10 minutes, and the orchestra's playing and playing, and then finally there's a time when you have to play that note. And I hit that note, and it wasn't very pretty. But I knew I had to do that again in a couple minutes more. So
Yes.
I put that away.
Yeah.
It's like it never happened. So in the moment, you really want it, but then because you will not hit that note again if you're getting tense over it. And I use that in my life a lot. When I make mistakes every day, all the time. And so when I do those mistakes, I have to forgive myself. Otherwise, I'm no good to anyone else.
Yeah.
And I hope that I transfer that learning to others as well. Because it's so important to forgive ourselves, not to accept bad behavior, not to condone it, or not to give ourselves excuses, but to say, okay, I did it. My bad. Move on. Move on.
Mm-hmm.
And don't let other people keep you in that place either. Right. That's also important.
Yeah, I often also use the analogy of working out. I always say to people, I work out every day. But you know what? I'm human, and there are some days that I just go, you know what? I'm just not going to do it. But it's that allowing myself to be human that lets me go the next day and say, yep, I'm back at it, right? And
you develop that habit, right? So it's one thing when you're starting to develop a habit, it's so important to do it every other day or whatever, 3 days, whatever, if you want to do it every day, it's a lot. But once you've developed that habit, that you can skip one day every other week or whatever it is and give yourself an out. That's okay. Otherwise you're too rigid, right? We can be too rigid.
Yeah. And we often constantly remind people, practice, practice, practice. The only way you can shift something from conscious to unconscious, automatic, easy, is to practice it. You're not born with it. You got to develop it, right?
People don't see the practice part. They see the results.
Realize
how much of that is practice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? the guys at the gym, you were speaking about the gym, the buffed up guys, um, you know, that's years. And
Yeah.
people don't see that. They don't follow that person years, but that person is, they're dedicating to that. Right?
Yeah. In coaching, we often refer to the muscle memory, right?
Sure.
Yeah. And that takes time and practice, repetitions. Again, Stephen Covey. Yeah. So, when you and I first connected, one of the most intriguing things that really excited me about something that you do that I've not seen other coaches do, and that's your walks retreat. That is, you do them once a year, or you do them every quarter. How often do you do those?
As many as I can. So, which is right now too, because my wife has a say in all of this, because I leave her with all the responsibilities. But no, right now I'm doing two. I want to increase that to 3 or 4,
Hmm.
and I will work towards that. The retreats were a
Yeah.
bit
What is it, and how does it work? Go
sure.
ahead. Hmm.
So it started out with me speaking with another coach about. He came to me. He says, "I'm going to do El Camino." I had heard of El Camino de Santiago in the north of Spain, in Galicia, Spain,
Right.
and Galicia, by the way, not Galicia. And so he said, "Hey, Michael, why don't we do this together?" I thought, "Oh, sounds fantastic." Now he ended up getting pregnant, or his wife, and he never even did it with me. But I had roped in somebody else so that we'd be a triumvirate doing this, and another coach, great guy, Ramon. And so we did the first one together with a couple of other people and one client as a trial. And what it is we would walk and a guide. So we had the entire equipment for this one poor guy who ended up becoming a client of mine. Um, still a client of mine. This is years ago now. And so we would get up in the morning, do yoga, have breakfast, do group coaching session. Then we would walk about, I don't know, 15 kilometers. And during the walking, well, people just walk together or walk alone. But I would take, in the first one, obviously, I would have a coaching session every once in a while with this one person. But in the later events, in the later Caminos, um, somebody would come up to me, somebody will come up to me, and they'll say, "Hey, Michael, I'd like to do some one-on-one right now." So throughout the day, when we're walking, I'm having coaching sessions. And there is nothing like that. Because, first of all, for instance, you and I right now, we're in this podcast, and we're looking directly at each other. It's very two-dimensional. And I won't say it's uncomfortable, not at all, but it's nothing like walking in a park together, right? We're walking in nature together and exploring what's going on and having this unwinding conversation that doesn't know what 50 minutes is. So it's a natural conversation.
Mm,
We
mm,
speak for as long as we want. If that's 2 hours,
mm.
I've had conversations of 2.5 hours with somebody, and I've had conversations with 20 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the timing is so different. And 20 minutes, and then let me think about that and come back to you, Michael.
Mm,
And there's no rush. And
yeah.
a week of that. And by the way, great food.
Yeah.
And nice hotel. So we're not
Mm,
in these what do they call these? I can't think of the name right now, but they have these like youth hostels or hostels along the routes, and it's nothing for the executives, and nothing for you right now. In the old days, oh yeah, but not now. So we stay at nice places. So it's an amazing time. Uh,
mm, mm.
it's just
Yeah.
there's no wife and kids or husband and kids, no dog. It's just time for you.
Mm. Yeah.
You probably never had that before
Mm.
in your life. Think about that.
Yeah. Yeah. When people are away from computers, technology, um, the brain is released from all of those interruptions. Do you find that they have much greater clarity, and is that part of that what
Everything
happens
changes.
there? Hmm?
Everything changes. And what's really interesting, the last group that I took, um, they became such good friends, so close to each other that we now have a mastermind group. We
Good.
didn't want to
Great.
leave it, the constellation, right? So
Mm.
it is so, what happens is that you're actually able to let go of these things pretty quickly and start to get into the right. Of course, I am working it. I am helping that happen, but it's mainly allowing that to happen and
Right.
putting everybody in that situation because environment is everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
When it comes to habit building, environment is everything. If you don't have the chips in the house, you're not going to eat the chips. That kind of thing. So, um, and people really want that. People want the interactions. They want to learn from each other. They want to put down their guard. They just need a way to do that. Uh,
Mm.
and so it's really exciting, I have to say.
Yeah.
I could go on and on about El Camino, and
Uh,
now we can do other retreats in France, in Italy, Switzerland, so and even
Canada.
in Egypt.
Oh, Egypt. Yeah, that'd be
The
beautiful.
Egyptian
Mm.
one, I should mention, is in February, and it is going to be 14 women. I'm not going on that one. That's one of my associate coaches is doing, but if
Mhm.
it's interesting to somebody, um, by all means.
Exciting. You have to do one in Canada.
I would love to. I would love to get a partner. And what we're trying to do actually is find partners, because I'm not going to do all of this. But I'm looking for partners who want to do coaching retreats, and they do their retreat, and we help them with the marketing. Right? We
Okay.
help and we help design it. We've been doing this for a while now, so I'd like to
Mhm.
use a kind of franchise.
Great. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, Michael, it's been very exciting. We've touched on a lot of things. Is there anything you want to leave people with before we wrap up here?
I'm not leaving. Uh, I think one thing I want to mention is AI
Right.
and how that is reshaping coaching and how it's so exciting.
Mhm.
And we shouldn't be afraid of AI. I mean, no, sorry, we should be really afraid of AI, just not in coaching. AI, and by the way, that train has left the station. It's like trying to stop Google or something, or stop people from buying mobile phones. I think mobile phones are the worst invention of mankind. Uh, when you go out today into the street, I want you to look at people and be aware of how many people are looking at their phone. Go to a restaurant, they're with their family, and look how many people are staring down at their phone.
Mhm.
Um, I find that extremely problematic for humans. But anyway, there's a very good side of AI,
It's
and and coaches need to be using this in their practice for very practical reasons. As I mentioned before, number one, it helps me to be present with my client. So
mhm.
I'm not missing anything. And that's so important. I have 50 minutes with my client, and they're paying me a good amount of money to make sure that I'm filling that time with 100% value. And to just give you an idea, um, two weekends ago, we were driving up to our weekend place on the Costa Brava, and I had to adjust something to the right of me as I was driving. And so I took my attention off the wheel for not more than 1 second, and I'm not exaggerating. And a Ferrari drove past me at around 250 miles an hour. It shook the car. And before I could notice anything, it was so far in the distance. I've never experienced anything like this in my life. It was just overwhelming, and my wife was screaming. And I'm using this as an analogy because that's how a coach's brain is working when they're with a client. We're not relaxing. We're like, okay. I mean, it doesn't look like that, but we're really focused. And so not having to take notes has been fantastic.
Yeah.
Here's the second thing, and that is all the reporting that I get. I get the notes from the meeting. They are organized in a particular way using a prompt, all of these things. And then I can have quarterly summaries. I can have progress dashboards. So then I have all this data that surfaces blind spots that I'm not even seeing. And I'm sharing this in reports, and we're collaborating on these things. It brings it to a completely different level when you're able to leverage the AI. Yeah. So it's been a boom for me. I just love it. And I'm looking for more ways to do this. So really exciting times.
Yeah, knowing where and how to use it as opposed to, abusing it, if you like, or relying on it too much. There is still, as you said, you need to be present, right? And as human beings, that's the key, right?
And I think, you fix my camera here. I think also that we should allow AI to work for us, just like we do when we're using ChatGPT in our daily work today. And I hope everybody's using ChatGPT. And we have to be super aware that it does make mistakes. It is not infallible. So you do have to read everything. You can't just send in something that ChatGPT has created and hope for the best, because it's not there yet. But it is a great tool that we should not be ignoring. One thing though is, let me just mention one thing, and that is security. That's super important. So all the things that we follow GDPR in Europe, which you don't really have in the States so much, but we're heavily controlled. We can't just hang on to stuff for as long as we want to. And there are all these things that we have to do to make sure that your data is safe.
And hyper as well. Yeah, look, they're great examples. The mobile phone's a great example. We resisted it, but it came and it's staying. The internet, so many people were avoiding the internet at the beginning, and you can't do without it. So AI is going to be one of those things we just need to figure out where it fits in, how much of it is going to be used. But if you don't use it and you don't leverage it, you're in the dark ages already.
I'm doing vibe programming now, which is programming without being a coder. I'm creating applications and tools for my clients that I could never have done. This is new. This is in the past 3 months. So it's exciting time.
Yeah. The world's moving very fast at the moment. Michael, I'm conscious of our time, but I thank you for taking the time today. It's been great to talk about these topics and the journeys. I hope that the people out there have appreciated your insights. Your model is phenomenal. I really love it. I'm sure we can have another session on just some of that model conversation, and maybe invite some people that want to be in a masterclass or a mastermind group.
We'd love to do that. I'm also going to talk on that model in Las Vegas in November. So it's
okay. Cool. Well, my friend, It's a pleasure. Again, we could talk for hours. So I have to respect people and give them their time back. Give you your time back and stay tuned. We'll have more podcasts every week. But Michael, thanks for being on today and taking the time to explain some of those things.
Nagui, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Cheers.